the Cimarron Man with No Name conversion. I believe that's the official title of this gun. Basically what it is for anybody that's seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, this is the gun that Clint Eastwood character Blondie, or the Man with No Name, carried throughout the movie. This is basically a cartridge conversion done to a Colt Navy, chambering it now in 38 Special and 38 Colt. So we're going to go over the gun, show off some of the features and some of the things I've tweaked on it. So most of your cartridge conversions you'll see are, you'll have basically the cylinder was replaced with a cylinder that's bored all the way through to allow for loading cartridges, and there's a loading gate, like so. This has them, but one thing it doesn't have, and what some guns have, is an ejector rod. So most of them would have an ejector rod, usually just attached here, to make it that as you cycle out the cylinder, you could eject out of the rounds, kind of like on a Colt Peacemaker. But this doesn't have that because the movie didn't have that. In fact, if you go watch the movie, it looks exactly like this. So what they did was they made it that your ejector rod is actually in the loading lever for back when this was a black powder revolver. You just pop this out and you can use that to eject the shells. Now usually I don't use this for two reasons. A lot of times you don't need it. Usually the cylinder is machined well enough and it's smooth enough that if I have the gun up like this and maybe just like tap on the cylinder a little bit, the shells drop out enough to where I could just use my thumbnail, yank them out of the gun. Or sometimes they just fall out of the gun. For the few times that that hasn't happened, I've just used a brass cleaning rod that I usually bring with me because that's less risk of scratching the frame. You know, steel rod, steel frame. I'd rather have a steel or a brass cleaning rod to knock them out. So the finish on this is pretty nice. The case hardening's nice. The scroll work on the cylinder is pretty nice. Bluing's really beautiful. You know, it's modern bluing, so it's not as beautiful as an old gun is blued, but still pretty nice looking gun. Wood grips are really nice. Now, one thing about these grips is you'll notice the snakes on both sides. Cimarron puts out two versions of this gun. One version is no snakes on either side, and then they have a version that's generally, depending upon where you buy it, about $200 more, and they put one snake on one side. I wasn't about to pay an extra $200 just to have a snake on one side. They label it as being silver inlay. I don't know if it's actually silver. I'm assuming for that price it is. But I decided to go the cheaper route because what I ended up doing was, and anybody can do if they want to, you go on Amazon and eBay, and people have replicated the snake in really nice detail. I'll show it here. In really nice detail, they've replicated the snake. And what you can do is, you go online, they're about 50 bucks, and you too can have the snake inlay on your gun. So that's what I did. So that's about the only thing I've tweaked about the gun. Gun's a lot of fun to shoot. I shot it for last couple months I've had it. I've taken out shooting several times. The only thing I noticed on it that I might tweak is how the sights are. Now the sights, traditionally with a Colt Navy, your sights are front sight up here and then rear sight is a notch in the hammer. They do not have that. This is a modified hammer because you need a firing pin since you're firing a cartridge rather than setting off a percussion cap. So the rear sight they have put in right here. And they're really nice sights. The only thing I complain about is, I'm trying to show the sight alignment now, is when you line them up, this front notch is kind of curved and like at the top, so it can be kind of hard to line up. Like you can line them up left to right really easy, but to get that perfect flat level can kind of be difficult. Trying to show that. So what I noticed is a lot of times I was shooting a little bit on the high side, and I actually have a target here. Now, ignore the stuff in the middle because that was a different gun. But I took 6 shots with this, right? And I was ended up holding about right here at about 10 yards. And this is where my group went. So that could have just been me, like I said, because of not being able to find the top of that front post. But either way, that's a pretty nice group. I had one flyer there, but no big deal. And it almost looks like if it really comes down to it, where I believe that it is the front post, it looks like this would be removable, and I'm sure you could probably get a different screw-in front post that's a different height to adjust for that. The other thing is, because this is chambered in both 38 Special and 38 Colt, I have not tried 38 Colt in it, so perhaps maybe it shoots a little high with 38 Special where it would be dead on with 38 Colt. Not sure, have not confirmed that yet, but that might be one of the things. So it is a lot of fun. I did have one issue with it, and that was with the when I first got it, a couple times when I was firing it, I would pull the hammer back and it would be a dead trigger. Like, you'd be pulling on the thing, nothing would happen. And originally I thought, oh no, there's something wrong with it. I brought it home, disassembled it, sprayed a bunch of rem oil down into the action, and then took some canned air and blew it all out. And I did notice I was getting like little bits of brass and stuff, like looked like from machining left over. And once I did that, it cycled just fine. Like, I've had no issues. It's real smooth. Locks up every time. Pretty good tight lockup. The hammer is a little, like, it's got pretty deep knurling here. I guess you'd call it knurling to catch your thumb. The one thing you get in the booklet, and I guess they kind of predicted this, was they said to people, don't beat up the gun. Like, don't keep fanning the hammer real hard and expect it to keep working. They didn't word it like that, but I'm paraphrasing for that, because they basically said, hey, if you beat the hell out of this and pretend you're Clint Eastwood, you're gonna wear out the gun. So just something to keep in mind. These guns are not built to be completely and totally abused. They are replicas, but they are a lot of fun to shoot. It is a pretty cool gun. I think that's covering just about everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and have a good day.